Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we are going to be reacting to a TikTok. So at the time of filming this video has over 3 million views on TikTok, 600 something thousand likes. The traction that this video got is why I've decided to react to it, because clearly it struck a chord with a lot of people. So we're gonna watch, reconvene, and I will tell you what I think per usual.
I saw a TikTok earlier that said, it's impossible to enjoy what you had to beg for. As much as I know it is very important to communicate what your expectations are, what your wants and desires are to your partner, that is very important and I understand that. At the same time, sometimes it feels like if I have to keep asking for the same things over and over and over again for you to finally do it, it feels like you don't genuinely love or respect me, because why do I have to ask so many times? I truly feel like a partner that sees you and understands you, you should not have to continuously ask for. A partner that wants to make you feel seen and heard and respected and loved will go out of their way to do things knowing who you are. Having to communicate over and over and beg for the things that you know you need as a person just doesn't sit right with me anymore. At the end of the day, somebody should want to do those things for you. They should want to bring that comfort and peace and happiness to your life without you having to beg for it. They finally do it. They are looking for some kind of appreciation or validation that, oh, look, I did it. I finally did what you asked. And it's like, okay, but now I don't really appreciate it anymore because I had to ask so many times, and it doesn't feel like it's coming from a genuine place. It feels like you're just doing it to get me to shut the fuck up.
Okay, like usual, there is a lot to unpack here. I'm gonna try to look at this from a few different perspectives, so be sure to stick around until the end so that you don't miss any. It might seem like I'm disagreeing or playing devil's advocate at times, but I'm just trying to take a well-rounded approach here to address some common things that I see with dating today. I think unfortunately this is something that a lot of people feel but don't always know how to express or articulate. I think when you have to keep asking for the same thing in a relationship, whether it's more effort, more appreciation, or just a basic emotional presence, it can be really draining. You can't help but feel like if they really cared, they would just do it without being asked. With that being said, as she touched on in terms of communication and how important that is, we also need to remember that our partner is not a mind reader. As much as we would love for someone to just get us without having to explain every little thing, that's just not how real relationships work. And I think she acknowledged that and she understands that because she brought it up, right? So I'm not talking about her specifically, but more so just using this video to talk about a bigger topic here. And that is the fact that I think this is a very common feeling in relationships. And a lot of people expect their partner to be a mind reader. So I don't know if she does, it doesn't seem like it from what she said, but I just want to talk about that problem in general. You know, people grow up with different experiences, different ways of showing love, different emotional habits. What feels obvious to you might not even be on your partner's radar. And that doesn't automatically mean that they don't care about you or that they don't love you. It just means that they might need to be told sort of clearly. Communication is key, but so is clarity. Before we get so upset about what is not happening, sometimes it's helpful to take a step back and really think about what exactly it is that we're asking for. Are these core needs in a relationship, things like consistency, emotional safety, respect? Or are we getting caught up in expectations that might not actually reflect what we value, but instead come from what we're constantly exposed to online? Lavish gifts, handbags, trips. I could go on and on here. And I'm not saying that's what this girl's asking for at all. Again, I'm just using this to talk about bigger problems that I see. Social media has made it way too easy to compare our relationships to highly curated snippets of other people's lives. You scroll and see someone getting flown out on a luxury vacation, receiving massive flower arrangements every week, or being surprised with these extravagant movie-like gestures. And naturally, you start to wonder, why doesn't my partner do that for me? Am I not good enough? Am I settling? It's an easy comparison trap to fall into, especially when these moments are packaged so beautifully online. But what we often forget is that we are only seeing a tiny curated slice of someone's relationship. We don't see the conversations that happen behind the scenes, or the emotional ups and downs, or whether those grand gestures are even truly meaningful, or if they're being done for the sake of social media. In some cases, yes, they might absolutely be true, genuine expressions of love. But even then, it's so important to remember that just because someone else is receiving something doesn't automatically mean that we are entitled to the same thing, or that it's realistic to expect it in our current relationship or stage of life. Context matters. Maybe that couple has an extremely high disposable income. Maybe gift giving is their love language, or maybe that person specifically asked for those things and they worked it out together. The point is, we don't know, and comparing our relationship to someone else's highlight reel can create resentment and unrealistic expectations that have nothing to do with our actual partner or the love that we are receiving. So I mentioned all of that to say, yes, it is so frustrating when we keep asking for things and our partner doesn't listen or doesn't follow through or whatever the issue is, but I think it's also important to take a step back and recognize what it is we're asking for. Because if you're asking for communication, respect, those core things that are important in a relationship, absolutely, that's freaking frustrating to keep asking and to not receive it. And in that case, I would say that person is probably not compatible with you, and you're better off just not continuing to ask because you're just probably not aligned and not compatible. But if you're asking for things that you're just seeing on social media that you think you deserve because someone else gets it, perhaps we're the problem. And if that is the case, instead of focusing on what someone else is getting, it's more helpful to reflect on what you truly value in a relationship. What makes you feel loved, safe, supported? Because meaningful love often shows up in smaller, quieter ways, like consistent effort, emotional availability, or someone simply remembering the little things that matter to you. It's important to ask ourselves, why do I want this? Is it because it aligns with my values and makes me feel loved? Or is it just something I saw and thought that I should want to? There is nothing wrong with having standards. I would encourage you to do so. You absolutely should have fundamental needs in a relationship, like being respected, feeling heard, and having someone who puts in effort. But if we're asking for things that aren't realistic for our partner, or again, the stage of life that we're in, or if we're measuring our relationship against someone else's highlight reel, we risk setting ourselves up for disappointment that isn't even about the relationship itself. It's about perception. So yes, it is valid to want effort. It is valid to want to feel seen, but at the same time, we need to meet people where they are. Not everyone is going to naturally know how to love us in the exact way that we want. But if they're willing to learn and willing to grow, I think that matters a lot, and that says a lot about them as a person. And if they're not meeting our core fundamental values that we need within a relationship, then it is okay to choose someone who already speaks your language. But through it all, I think it's important to be honest with ourselves. Are we asking for something that will bring us closer together, or are we asking for something that's just going to feed comparison and resentment? It's a tough but necessary question to ask in this day and age with comparison online and social media, and the answer will look different for everyone. At the end of the day, I think what the girl said in the original video comes from a very real and very valid place. It's nice to feel like your significant other is considering you. Nobody, man or woman, wants to feel like they have to beg to be seen, heard, or valued in the relationship. We also don't want to feel like we're nagging our significant other. That is annoying for everyone involved and completely kills attraction on both sides of the equation. And she's right. When someone finally gives you something that you've been asking for over and over, we're talking realistic here, it can start to feel performative instead of heartfelt, like they're doing it just to shut you up or quiet you down, not because they genuinely care or want to do it. Again, I think context matters and what we're asking for matters. If you're asking your significant other to communicate with you instead of shutting down and shutting you out every time they're upset, but they continue to do that and don't communicate with you, that's not an overreaction, that's emotional exhaustion. And it's something that so many people silently carry in relationships because so many of us just do not have the tools to be in a healthy relationship. Again, if those core fundamental needs in a relationship are not being met and you are having to ask over and over for them to be, or beg the person that you're with to try to improve, at some point you have to recognize that person has to want to do those things. You can't make them do those things. And if they're not doing it, then maybe they're just not the right person for you, and that's unfortunate, and it stinks when you see the potential in someone but they're not following through. But you can't love someone for the potential that they could be. You have to love someone exactly as they are, and if they aren't changing, then that's kind of on them. And of course, like I said so many times, it depends what you're asking for. If you're asking for those core fundamental needs, absolutely valid. If you're asking for a $12,000 Rolex over and over again and your partner can't get it for you, then my answer would be a little bit different here, okay? They're very different things. So again, I think context is very important, but I agree with her core message that love should feel mutual. You shouldn't have to fight for basic consideration or emotional presence. When someone really sees you, they're going to take action, not because you asked them to do so 10 times, but because they want to, and they want to show up and be a healthy partner for you, and they know that it's important to you. So I think it's important to wrap this video up by saying this. The goal isn't to make someone change into who you want them to be. The goal is to get clear on what you value, to communicate openly and honestly, and to observe whether that person meets you there, willingly and consistently. If they do, that's amazing. But if they don't, it's okay to let go, not out of anger or bitterness, but from a place of self-respect and clarity. And of course, remember that healthy relationships are built on effort, understanding, and mutual respect, not mind reading and not social media checklists. So that is all I have for this one. If you liked it or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over on there as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.